Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation about formative assessment and how to apply it in an inclusive mathematics classroom. I want to pose this question to you. How do we make big impacts to student learning every day? What strategies can we use to ensure every student progresses in their understanding and their skill development? Firstly, let's look at what an inclusive classroom may look like. We know that a typical classroom includes a wide range of students who bring with them factors which contribute to the uniqueness in our classrooms. We have different learning needs, behavioural needs, location, socio-economic factors, Indigenous background, ESD students, ESL students, and whether they're male or female. All these factors influence the readiness for mathematical learning and mathematical achievement. So these diverse characteristics of students pose a challenge for teachers in creating an environment which makes the curriculum accessible to all through planning and assessment. So there are three main types of assessment. We have our pre-assessment, our formative assessment, and our summative assessment, which all have their own specific purpose. Pre-assessment is the way to find out what the students already know about a topic before the lesson or unit work begins. We can use KWL charts, so know, want to know and learn charts, listening to the questions students wonder about a topic, brainstorming information they know, maybe writing lists of words students associate with a topic, or even on a small piece of paper students can write 3 things they know about a topic. We're assessing pre-knowledge that the students actually have. Summative assessment monitors students' achievements, evaluating skills and understanding at the conclusion of a topic, and can be in the form of unit tests, written work, or oral presentations. Or there's plenty of other ways to do that as well. And it gives us a score that we can report on. So, how does formative assessment fit in with teaching and learning? Have you thought about how we can use formative assessment to benefit student learning and guide our teaching? Let's explore that a bit more. Let's think about assessment in terms of this scenario. I was planning a holiday with my kids to visit the latest theme park called Wacky World, which was a 6-hour car drive. In terms of a teacher, what types of assessment would I use to assess my holiday? I decided that 2 types of assessments, the pre-assessment and summative assessment, would hopefully help me evaluate the success of my holiday. So my pre-assessment would include knowing which town we were going to, the long way to go town, and knowing it would take 6 hours to get there. So we hop in the car and off we drive. After 6 hours in the car, I look around in a summative assessment to see if we're at our destination. To my horror, I realised I was heading in the wrong direction and we were actually 12 hours away from Wacky World. How did I get it so wrong? I was assessing my journey, wasn't I? In reality, when we're driving in a car, we monitor where we are. We look at the signs and check Google Maps to ensure we're on the right roads, or readjust our course if we're not heading in the right direction. This is formative assessment. Constantly assessing and readjusting, checking we're on the right road, and readjusting our course if we need to, minute by minute. Formative assessment occurs every day. Yes, that's right. Teachers make deliberate decisions every day, sometimes minute by minute, evaluating the quality of the learning in the classroom, investigating what a student can do and understand. Teachers make decisions to guide the learning, readjust teaching strategies, and provide instructional feedback towards the learning goals to increase the chance of the student learning. Remember our typical classroom full of wonderful students at all different stages of readiness of learning mathematics? Formative assessment helps make the curriculum accessible to all students because we can adjust instructions and tasks to their needs. I've created this diagram to show you the cycle which occurs during formative assessment. So, learning goals that we set, we determine where the students should be going. We need to consider what skills and knowledge the students need. And through setting clear and explicit learning goals and criteria, we can impact student learning. We can use instructions, using manipulatives, modelling, verbalising. The next thing we look at is assessing the student's understanding. Through discussion, questioning, responding to questions and assessing their work. It helps us identify their understanding, seeing what strategies are being used and listen to the development of language. Let's look at that a little bit more closely. So, assessing the student understanding, we can use open-ended questions to find out levels of conceptual mathematical understanding. These are some of the questions you could use. You could say, compare, what do you notice? Or, can we describe the rule or the pattern you're using? We could say, simply, where are you stuck? Or, are there other ways to solve it? Perhaps you could just say, can you explain that in more detail? Or, what are you considering? There are so many ways we can ask students about their understanding. And it's important to listen closely to their responses. The student's response will actually influence what our choices will be, adjusting the teaching to guide and extend their learning. So let's go back to our cycle, and we're up to having a look at feedback. This can come in many forms and requires the teacher to adapt the teaching and learning to meet the individual needs of the students in the classroom. Feedback can include giving hints or clues and suggestions, perhaps clarifying instructions, what to do or how it is done and why, or adjust or clarify our explanation, perhaps model, or even simply questioning the students about their learning. Feedback should focus on the task. Acknowledge what the students can do well. Explain why something is correct or why it is wrong, and what they need to do next to improve their understanding or further their thinking. This step of feedback provides opportunities for students to review their thinking and construct new knowledge. Finally, we have to evaluate the students and determine if they have reached their learning goals. In formative assessment, the student is always at the centre of this cycle. Formative assessment is the act of planning a course for students, but being able to readjust this course in regards to their needs. You might wonder how often you should be doing formative assessment. Well, as often as you can, every minute, until the student understands, and then you can move on. There are many different strategies to use in formative assessment. Here's a link to a resource which comprehensively explains some of the activities, including exit tickets, think, pair, share, and quick whiteboard answers. Now, Black and Willem write about the substantial research which has been completed on formative assessment and have concluded that substantial learning improvements can occur for all students with the use of effective formative assessment. They benefit from the flexibility to apply a variety of teaching and learning strategies. As teachers, we need to consciously apply formative assessment to our diverse learners in the classroom to check they are on the right path and adjust the teaching and learning to benefit each and every student. So we've worked out formative assessment occurs on a daily basis and it's specific to each student's needs, which makes it ideal for inclusive education. I'm going to leave you with this final thought from Callahan, which I thought was a great way to sum it up. And she says, Both the students and the teacher should adjust what they are doing as a result of formative assessment. Thank you for listening to my presentation.